According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are currently 12.3 million Americans who are unemployed. Me personally, I feel like this is a failure of our system in general. The reason why I say this is we could be preparing kids throughout high school. We could send them to vocational classes during their regular days. By doing this, this would lower this absurd unemployment rate and would also benefit the children themselves, especially for the ones who don't plan on going to college at any point. By sending these kids to vocational classes throughout the day, you would take away the inability of, once they graduate, to know any sort of job skill. For instance, if a kid who maybe wasn't an A+ student in algebra, which at what point in his life would he ever need to know X plus Y, was excellent at, say, air conditioning, coming out of high school rather than being forced to take academic college courses on this math that he doesn't ever really understand and which ultimately would force him out of college, was able to go and get a job working in air conditioning. He not only would not be using welfare, but he would not be unemployed. He would not be forcing taxpayers' dollars to support him because he excelled in that HVAC class. So there is obviously a problem. There is a problem that kids who come out of high school are not ready for the real world. They're not prepared enough to go out day after graduation and get a job, which many are forced to do. And the ones who can't, for parents who are done supporting them, they kick them out. So the homeless rate increases because they can't get a job, they have no money, they can't support themselves, and welfare isn't enough to go and purchase a house with, or rent a house even. So my suggestion is, let's force kids to, not necessarily force them, give them the option um, to take a vocational class throughout their high school career that would better themselves as well as prepare them for the future. So the the knowledge that these kids would gain would be unbelievable. It would be one that would be able to give them a future. Now, as I mentioned before, and just to stick on the same topic with algebra, if a kid cannot come out and go x plus y equals 6 minus b, and can't give a solution to that, does it mean he's a bad kid? Absolutely not. Does it mean he's not good in algebra? Yeah, it does. But what gets you a job? Being good at algebra or knowing your skill? Typically, the things that we learn throughout our high school and even our college careers we'll never use again, for the most part. Of course, you will always have your classes which are directly related to your skill and your job setting. But I'd say probably 5 out of every 7 things that we learn we'll never use again, we'll never remember. For instance, learning Western civilization. Yes, does history repeat itself? Absolutely. Does it really help us if we're going out to lay tile, what Napoleon did during his excursion when he attempted to take over the world? Not really, not at all. So my point here is that while we're allowing these kids to go through and allowing these kids to learn all of these things, which yes, knowledge is excellent. It is absolutely wonderful to know these things. We also have to be prepared for these kids who are not going to excel in academics. Now, some countries, they don't allow this. They automatically expect kids to excel throughout academics. Unfortunately and fortunately, America is not one of those countries who forces you to be a brainiac. They allow you to take your chances and learn from your mistakes. And I believe that America is making a mistake by allowing kids to graduate with no preparation for their future. So, my suggestion, once again, would be to allow these kids to take enough credit hours in this vocational class to where they could earn a certificate, because then coming out of high school they are prepared, and one would argue it oversaturates the workforce, but at the same time it's better than the alternative, which would be unprepared and unexperienced workers going out and not being able to find a job. By giving these high school age kids an experience in a job field, whether it be masonry, carpentry, HVAC, woodwork, anything, by giving these kids a hands-on experience and allowing them to learn plumbing, they can walk out day after graduation with a certificate that says, I completed this course, here's my paperwork, allow me to work. It would be such a better help for welfare. Like I said earlier, it reduces welfare dramatically, because 9 out of 10 people who cannot find a job is because they are, quote, unqualified. And to me, that personally, once again, is a failure of our system. So if we adjust the system, if we fix the issue at its roots, which is kids going through high school, kids coming up and going, I know I'm not going to go to college, so what's the point in even finishing high school? If they find that one trait, that one job that just lights a fire under them, not only would it increase graduation rates, but it would also benefit the economy itself, because you have more people working, and by having the more workers, you're able to provide better work. You're able to choose better workers for you, rather than going out and finding the one guy who, says up and down that he can do something. At this point, by giving them the classes and the certificate, you know for a fact that they are going to be able to get the job done no matter what. So, I would like to point out that many of us who are in school now sit around and for a personal example, right now, Math for Liberal Arts 1. Okay, I'm forced to take the class because it is a part of my degree plan. However, right now I'm going over areas of angles and areas of different trapezoids and et cetera, et cetera. I'm a criminal justice major. My degree has absolutely nothing to do with anything that I'm currently covering in that math class. So my point is that we are forced to learn these things that are never going to benefit us. Why not force these kids to learn something that will actually help them throughout their career, and allow them to prosper in life, rather than going, wow, I'm 25 and I have no future, no path, so now I'm going to go and wait tables. And no offense to people who wait tables, because I do so myself. So in closing, I'll leave you with this. If kids in high school, young adults in high school, were allowed to experience the workforce firsthand and experience what it takes to make a future for themselves throughout high school, I believe unemployment would go down, welfare would drop dramatically, homeless numbers would drop drastically, and America in general would be a better place.